Welcome gallery staff and councillors to Richmond Valley Council's Ordinary Council meeting on the Tuesday the 16th of December 2025. I'll open the meeting with acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognise the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of the land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture connections to land, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Councillors, before we move on to the next item, I believe it is only fitting that on behalf of our Richmond Valley community, we show respect to those involved in the tragedy that occurred on Sunday at Bondi Beach with a minute's silence. For those who are able, please stand. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll move on to item 3, which is public access, and we have one request. It's Mrs. Bianca Rayner, Casino Youth Hub, item 15.2, youth engagement, notice of motion response. Please come forward, Bianca. Welcome, Bianca, and
Thank you, Robert.
When you're ready, you are aware of the 5 minutes time limit.
Yeah,
4 minutes, you'll get the bell. You've been here before, so
yeah.
Thank you. Nothing's changed. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Welcome.
Okay. Good evening, councillors. Thank you, Robert, for the introduction. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, first and foremost. So my name is Bianca Rayner, for those that don't know me. I'm the coordinator of the Casino Youth Hub. My work places me alongside young people every day, and it's why I am deeply committed to supporting youth action at a local government level. I see firsthand both the extraordinary potential of our young people and the significant gaps that still limit their wellbeing, safety and sense of belonging. I want to first acknowledge the considerable work already underway through the Richmond Valley Youth Network, facilitated by Marie Cullen. Under her leadership, the network has become a critical point of connection between services, community groups and young people themselves. The collaboration that has emerged over recent months is the strongest I have seen in a long time, and it demonstrates the value of Council's facilitation role in bringing our sector together. I want to express my strong support for this notice of motion and the direction it sets. The way it responds to the Youth Voice Your Choice survey, particularly the emphasis on informal, accessible engagement, aligns closely with what we are seeing on the ground. My comments this evening are focused on how Council can build on this direction through adequate human resourcing. Our Youth Bounce Board is funded by Richmond Valley Council and will launch in 2026. It offers informal high attendance activities like pizza and ping pong nights to engage young people who might not join formal advisory groups. With the right additional resourcing, initiatives like this can complement the intent of this motion. They can help identify emerging young leaders, support mentorship opportunities with councillors, and provide a practical ongoing advocacy channel between young people and council. However, what initiatives like this rely on, and what this report clearly identifies, is a dedicated role within council to foster networks, strengthen collaboration, and ensure the sustainability of initiatives that have demonstrated effectiveness. It requires skilled coordination to build trust, maintain continuity, translate engagement into outcomes, and ensure that youth participation leads to co-design, leadership development, and genuine advocacy pathways. Informal and flexible engagement does not mean unstructured or effortless. The report acknowledges that Council's current youth engagement budget is limited. Moving beyond facilitation to more active delivery requires additional investment. From my perspective on the ground, this is a critical point. Without dedicated capacity, youth engagement risks remaining well-intentioned but fragmented. As it stands, this responsibility rests with a very small number of workers who are already overstretched. We cannot sustain this level of effort without additional support. Community groups, as I recently discussed with the president of a local Rotary Club, are doing fantastic work with young people, but they often lack the strategic oversight and coordination needed to maximise their impact. Many neighbouring councils have recognised the value of a dedicated youth engagement role. For example, Cumberland City Council has a youth participation officer, and other councils, including Greater Dandenong and Melton, employ youth engagement or development officers. These roles focus on coordinating networks, building partnerships, and ensuring youth programs are sustainable and responsive, not just delivering individual activities. A youth liaison and network officer in the Richmond Valley would provide the same strategic oversight, ensuring efforts across schools, services, and community organisations are aligned, sustained, and responsive to young people's real needs. Councillors, the foundations are already in place. The evidence is clear, the youth network is active, and young people have told us what works. What is needed now is the commitment to explore how this work can be properly resourced. While the direct delivery of youth services is not Council's responsibility, it is Council's responsibility to ensure healthy, connected communities. With young people making up roughly 1/3 of our population and representing our future ratepayers, investing in a dedicated youth liaison and network officer must be a priority. I urge Council to investigate this role as part of the next budget review, so that youth engagement in the Richmond Valley moves from aspiration to meaningful, coordinated action for the benefit of our young people and the future of our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would you take questions?
Yeah, of course.
Has any councillor got any questions of Mr Rayner?
Thank you for your time, Bianca. You mentioned in your speech just now, young people have told us what works. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so what they're after is, rather than really structured governance models that you see with typical advisory groups, they're wanting these social activities and events, and then that engagement piece sort of comes in incidentally. And in order to do that, again, you need a coordinated role that brings the services together to engage with those young people. So informal strategies for engagement work way better, in my experience, than targeted engagement or surveys or any of that. You need boots on the ground to deliver these events, to engage young people meaningfully and to build that trust in a familiar face. So that builds their capacity then for self-advocacy in the future. They've asked for that. Social events they want.
And what would you say to people that might form the opinion that this is a potentially cost shifting from state to local government? Do you think that council has a grassroots responsibility in this space as the expert in the field?
I wouldn't call myself an expert in the field, although I appreciate that. But yeah, of course, I think council has a responsibility, and I think it actually helps with, I don't ever want to say that the Youth Hub project or any council role is going to be the solution to youth crime, but I understand that probably costs our local government money, that costs our council money, and this could be a part of that puzzle. I think we all need to work together to piece the puzzle together, and at the moment, there's not enough puzzle pieces, in my opinion. I think council sits with a shared responsibility with services, schools, parents. Certainly they're a piece of it.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you,
Finish,
everyone.
Councillor Murray. Councillor Walker.
Oh, my apologies.
Thanks, Bianca. Just, obviously we're involved in the Casino Youth Hub, which is new to the scene and is uncovering a whole range of youth needs. Can you explain to the council how the Youth Hub is working with the council staff and the youth network and the other people in the community that are very engaged in youth activity?
Yep, and if I can speak very openly, the work is being done. We have an excellent relationship with council, and they're certainly very supportive of the Youth Hub project, which I so appreciate. What I will say is, although that network is very active and we have a lot of energetic members now, which, we're in a really pivotal time, I think, for the youth sector on a local level. Every time we meet, I do feel like we take away more work because we have that energy. Young people are telling us where the gaps are. We want to fill them, but there's just not enough of us. So while the work's being done again and we're really at a critical point, the network doesn't have enough people, essentially, with dedicated roles and the scope to continue to bring that all together. But yes, I do want to say and acknowledge that partnership and collaboration with council because it's been very valuable to the Youth Hub. Yeah.
Finished, Councillor Walker? Councillor Hayes.
Yeah, just a question, Bianca. Because we're pretty unique and we're spread over a large area, our Richmond Valley Council, all the way down to Evans Head, how are you going to spread your work and your services over the entire Richmond Valley area? And does that solely relate to being funded?
I have a solution for this, and it would be that whilst that funded role within council would support bringing that network together, I would propose as a member of that network that we create zones. So we would have a zone coordinator, for example, Casino Youth Hub is me, the zone coordinator for Mid-Richmond Neighbourhood Centre for Evans Head. We identify one for Coraki. The youth network officer's role is to maintain that and bring it together, and then we all acquire funding, we do session planning, and then we drop it. So we say we've done the work, the money's here, and we pick it up and we drop it across the LGA. Something I'm very passionate about, and I know every other member of the youth network is passionate about, is equitable distribution of funding and resources. So I think that role would be the perfect person to tie that all together, and it could be a part of their position description, in my opinion. Yeah.
Answer your question. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time.
Have a good Christmas.
Yes, you too. Merry Christmas. Nice jacket.
There'll be one in my room if you want to bring one. Thank you. That takes us on to item 4, apologies. No apologies. We have every councillor present. Mayoral minute. There's no mayoral minute. I'll turn over the page to confirmation of the minutes. 6.1 minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 18th of November 2025. Can we get a mover, please? Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries. Is every councillor okay with the accuracy of those minutes? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Move to the next page. 6.2 minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 2nd of December 2025. Can get a mover, please? Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder. Oh, Councillor Murray, sorry. Everyone okay with the accuracy? I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Over to item 7 on page 8. Matters arising out of the minutes of either of those meetings.
Yeah.
Councillor Hayes.
On item 10.1, did that letter get sent out to Mr Bailey and his family?
Yes.
It did. Thank you.
Would you like a copy of that?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll get that to you.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay. Might send it to every councillor. Yep. Thank you. Any other items? Declarations of interest, item 8. Mr General Manager, have you received any declarations?
Yes, I have. First one, Councillor Hayes in item 16.2, which is future management of Air Force Beach. It's a non-pecuniary insignificant conflict as Councillor Hayes owns property near Air Force Beach. Second one from Councillor Hayes in item 23.4, which is the Richmond Valley Residential Development Update. And Councillor Hayes has identified a non-pecuniary insignificant conflict as he has friends of property owners mentioned in that report. Councillor Humphries has identified in item 16.1, which is the planning proposal for 90 Manifold Road North Casino, non-pecuniary insignificant conflict. Councillor Humphries is a nearby resident. And the final one I have is for myself, Vaughan McDonald, in item 16.1, planning proposal, 90 Manifold Road, non-pecuniary insignificant conflict. Again, I'm an adjoining neighbour to that, the address of that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is petitions, nil. Notice of motions, nil. We'll now move to page 9, the Mayor's report, and I'll move that. Can I get a seconder, please?
I'll second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey. Any questions or debate on that? Councillor Murray?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just any comments on the Local Government New South Wales Conference in Sydney that you attended?
There is a report on the next page on that.
Okay, specifically in relation to the Code of Conduct, was that discussed at the conference?
Yeah, we'll move on to that in the next item. Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Just a quick question through you, and the General Manager might have to answer this. On the 15th, you went to St Mary's Catholic College Year Formal. We get all these formals come up around this time of the year. Is there a policy or like a handout that the schools can get to determine if they want to, and what costs are involved with closing roads and using public spaces for formal activities, so that they're aware prior to the events taking place?
I don't think there's any roads closed. They drive into the RSM club along, I think there's road closures there, and the St Mary's, they actually drive into the basketball courts and do a U-E and let the people out.
I mean
there.
across the whole valley, every school.
Well, I'm just thinking of the schools. The Christian school, they go to a function in, probably the Clydesdale or the RSM club. So I'm just thinking of the high schools here. I don't know, down at Evans Head, when I've been there, they've more or less gone into the car park at Evans Head for the official getting out of the cars.
They have photo sessions on Shark Bay every year, and they didn't have them this year. They missed out.
I don't think they have them up here on community land. I don't think. Yeah.
Look, we don't have a specific policy on, for schools, but we have policies in place for utilising, public spaces depending on what it is. The example you're referring to is something that has happened informally for a number of years. In this case, my understanding is the school requested that the road be formally closed, which does come at a cost to council, and that was what information was provided in that instance. There may be situations across the valley where schools take photos in certain places. Generally it's done informally, but done in a way that doesn't require the formal closure of a road, and that was what I understand occurred this year. In previous years it had happened, they hadn't formally closed the road.
Any other questions? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Over the page to the delegates' reports. Now there's two delegates' reports here as councillors. One's from the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference and the other one's from Rouse County Council. Can I get a mover for both of them, please? Councillor Morrissey and a seconder. Councillor Cornish. Councillor Morrissey, any questions? Councillor Cornish. Any other councillors? Councillor Murray, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, two questions actually. Was interested in Chris Minns' address. Any elaboration on what his feedback was from the local government conference in that address?
Sorry?
Well, were there any comments on the Premier's address to constituents of the...
Well, he just spoke about local government, the need for us to work together. It was very interesting. The other speakers took questions. When he'd finished his speech, he just walked across the stage and left. But yeah, it was the usual, we need to work all together, and funding's difficult to find, but he'll be there when they need us. And yeah, my General Manager or any other councillor might want to speak on that one.
I think, the Premier's speech was very much focused on housing, housing and infrastructure, and the need for housing and the need for funding for infrastructure. So that was very much, that was the main focus and takeaway from his address on the, it was on the second morning.
Second day.
Yeah, that was definitely his focus.
Okay, and was there any conversations or discussions around the code of meeting practice?
Yes, if you go down to the fourth dot on page 10, the second part of that paragraph, the local government New South Wales is also advocating the return of availability for council to attend meetings online, and highlighted widespread concerns about the loss of councillor briefing sessions. So it was very well debated. There was a motion moved actually from the floor about that, but the Minister, Honourable Ron Honing MP, spoke about it and took questions on it, and he got a bit from the floor, but he gave a fair bit back from the stage. So he's adamant that it won't happen. We'll see where that goes, because I believe there is a few discussions happening in the upper house, but I don't know where that's going to go. It may not even get debated, so it could not happen.
Thanks for the update.
Does any other councillors want to say anything? No, it was there. There was 134 motions up for debate. They did not get through all of them. I noticed there that there is, in that fourth dot, the local government New South Wales to seek this restoration of 1% of government revenue to be the total of funds distributed under the FAGS program. It is currently 0.54. They adopted the 1%, and then a motion come up later to go to 2%, and that took a bit of debate, but it decided to just stay at the 1%. So I think that's a big issue for local government. If we can get that, that'll help local government across New South Wales immensely. So that's the agenda, and I know it's online, so if you want some nighttime reading, you can go through them. But it was I think a worthwhile conference. The accommodation arrangements was we were about a half an hour from the venue because we couldn't get close accommodation, but we there for all the sessions of the meeting type of thing. We, Councillor Humphreys, Morrissey and myself, come home on the Tuesday because there wasn't any debate or voting or anything like that, so to save another night's accommodation, we got home. But, the General Manager went to those sessions, and there was a speaker there on AI, very interesting presentation, and he was, the way he went about the address I thought was very good. In the future of wherever that will go with councils and that, so yeah, it was worth the effort to go. Mr. General Manager.
Probably just the other one that's just useful for you to be aware of was the debate around some of the planning reforms, and there were some significant concerns about the, I suppose, the lack of consultation. Those reforms actually went through Parliament with bipartisan support, and they do potentially remove the decision-making of councillors from planning matters through the establishment of local planning panels. So over a period of time, the regional planning panels will be no longer, and where necessary, there'll be local planning panels. So the feedback's been pretty strong, and I think the government has committed to having some engagement and discussions with LG New South Wales as representative of councils early in the new year before these reforms do roll out. So it is an area where there's a bit of a watch this space, some concerns as to how the transition and implementation of that occurs. So I think that'll something we'll need to just keep our eyes on.
Just to wrap it up, there was a lot of debate from some rural councillors, and there is a divide with the city still there because it used to be two associations. They've joined them together, but there's still the divides there, and a lot of debate and feeling from some councillors in rural areas about alternative energy, like wind farms and solar farms. That's ripping some communities apart. They don't want them. Some city councillors got up and spoke that they were really good, and the answer was, well, you can have them at Parramatta and Bankstown, and we're supplying you the energy, blah blah blah. But yeah, so that got very passionate by some of the rural councils, where they're just popping up everywhere, and they just said, look, we're taking a load here, just give us one or two, but not everywhere, wind farms and that. So yeah, but as I said, there was a lot of debate and a lot of interesting issues that can refer to our area too. So, any other questions?
Mr Mayor, if I could make a comment. It was very interesting. I was going to actually make a comment about the wind farms and the solar farms. It was interesting to watch the difference, the challenges and the opportunities between the city councillors and the country councillors, and there was a lot of hurt on a number of occasions. A division that was very interesting, a division was called on 2 agenda items and resulted in a 50-50 split. Apparently one is unusual, but to have 2 consecutive, I think they were, people started to scratch their heads and wonder how the IT equipment was going. Councillor Miller, I have to say, was a very skillful chair. She ran a really good meeting, and it was very efficient and really good time-wise. And I really thought it was well worth the trip even just to watch how she managed her meeting skills were so good. The standout presentation, or one of them, was the AI guru, and so I came home and I put that into use. It wasn't for council yet, but I tried out something with a project I had for Cow FM, and when it was completed I checked it all out, and it was really comprehensive and very helpful and saved me a lot of time. A lot of councillors did take the opportunity to share their concerns with the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Ron Honig MP, with regards to the main two reforms that he had that were really concerning them. And honestly, I wrote a few notes because I really felt that councillors' words to him, they were compelling and they were passionate and reflecting not only their individual circumstances and needs, but also those of their communities. And I personally was somewhat dismayed by his response. He stood there for the majority of the time unmoved and showing no visible sign of empathy or understanding. One councillor was quite distressed, and she was describing her situation and the possibility that she may have to resign. At the time that she nominated and was elected, attending council meetings by Zoom was allowed. However, due to the restrictions now imposed, she may no longer be able to fulfil her duties. And her distress was understandable, as she was supported by a demographic within her community to become a councillor. She said it was a hard slog, and she was supported, and now through no fault of her own, she may be forced to resign. I think the whole issue is compounded by the language used in support of the reforms, implying that there is a lack of trust between councils and their communities, and that there is a lack of respect in chambers in the vast majority of councils across New South Wales, is simply not true. And we all know that you mentioned the word government in a small sector of our community, and that small sector of our community immediately think, oh, they can't be trusted. Referring to disrespect being shown in the chamber, in my 20+ years experience as a councillor, I can only recall one occasion where this has occurred in this chamber, and that came from a person in the public gallery. I feel that the choice of words the minister has, in his choice of words, he's cast a shadow over the commitment and the dedication that councils have for their communities. And I hope, Mr Mayor, you referred to perhaps there being some slight changes being thought about. I hope that that's right. I would sincerely like some changes, especially for the Zooming. That's the one that really, the timing was all wrong, bringing that in after the election.
I wouldn't hold my breath on those changes happening. But that was just a light of hope that was talk about it. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, don't get my hopes up, thank you.
Yeah, so we'll just wait and see what comes out of it. But I wouldn't be too confident. I need to put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Page 13, item 13, matters determined without debate. Has any councillors got any matters?
Yes.
Councillor Murray.
15.2, 16.2, 18.2 and 18.3.
$16.2, 18.2 and 18.3.
So, no, sorry, 15.2,
15.2.
16.2, 18.2 and 18.3.
Any other councillor?
16.1, Mr Mayor.
Any others? So, Mr General Manager, we need a motion for 15.1, 18.1, 18.4, correct? Yep. Can I get someone to move that, please?
Move, Mr Mayor.
Second.
Councillor Morrissey and Councillor Humphries, second. Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, we'll now go to page... there's no, on page 14, page 13, there's item 14, no General Manager's reports. So we'll go over to 15.2 on page 18. Councillor Murray moving.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
And a seconder? I'll second it. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to thank Bianca Rayner for coming in and speaking on this matter tonight. This notice of motion actually went up quite some time ago, May, if my memory serves me correctly. I note the recommendation but would like to put forward an amendment to that, if I can.
Yep. Have you got it in writing?
Yes.
Have you received it?
Point of order, Mr Mayor. The mover of a motion can't move an amendment. Councillor Murray should have moved the amended motion to begin with.
Sorry, the rules confuse me.
Sorry?
I can't move the amendment then that I've got here.
You,
Okay,
You
I would
can-
like to
you-
move
you-
my amended motion as the motion.
yeah. Or you could withdraw. You could withdraw the motion.
Or
and
I
then-
withdraw the motion, I'll let
and
someone
now,
else move
and
it.
now, and now move a new motion. And as seconder, as seconder, I okay that. So
Okay,
now
thank
you
you.
need a new recommendation,
Yes,
new
so
motion,
my
a new motion.
the new motion.
You need a new motion.
Okay, I've given that to Julie.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I have. I can't move it. So the amendment's just to highlight, oh, am I allowed to speak yet, or do I wait?
Sorry. So it's up there? I'm just looking at it because I can't read it actually from the... Would you like to read it out then, please?
I can read it out. So that council notes the results of the Richmond Valley Youth Voice, Your Choice survey conducted by council, and commits to increasing funding for youth initiatives to be allocated in consultation with the Richmond Valley Youth Network for ongoing youth engagement and youth services as part of the 2025-2026 budget review, and forward estimates recognising the scale and urgency of the youth crisis facing the Richmond Valley, and receives a report on the availability of human resource funding to support the allocation of a potential youth advisory role, and requests further report on outlining funding options including council investment, external grant opportunities and partnerships with state and federal government to support expanded youth engagement, prevention and early intervention initiatives across the LGA.
I withdrew my second of that previous one, so you'll need a seconder.
Mr Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Councillor Walker.
I would have seconded the original one, but I wanted to move an amendment similar to that.
Okay. Councillor Murray.
Thank you,
Your
Mr
debate.
Mayor. We are living through a national youth crisis and it's playing out very clearly in our own backyard. While there are calls from our own state member who is supporting a petition calling on stronger sentencing and tougher responses to repeat offending, it simply doesn't make sense to me to holistically focus on the back end of the problem. We heard from Bianca Rayner tonight about prevention and early intervention initiatives. Council has the opportunity to make a positive contribution on a grassroots level through early intervention, engagement, mentoring and prevention, so fewer young people end up in serious trouble in the first place. Some may argue this is a cost-shifting exercise on state government. I don't agree with that. I think every level of government has a role to play. And at a local level, it's best placed to respond early, locally and practically. This amendment doesn't commit council to any one model. It's simply asking to really address this youth crisis we are seriously facing in our own backyard with proper funding and resourcing. 72 young people responded to the Youth Voice Your Choice survey, which is a phenomenal result. I think we've come here and sometimes there's 2 or 3 responses to the surveys we put out. So to see 72 people engaged in this process is a really great outcome. In our own community strategic plan, we've got youth engagement and services activities. We've got Objective 4 is celebrating local identity and lifestyle, and Objective 8 is lead and advocate for community. So I'm here today leading and advocating for proper funding for our youth initiatives. The delivery program references youth as well. Supporting young people is explicitly part of that report as well. This notice of motion went to council in May. We're now sitting here in December, and what I'm calling for is proper funding to help coordinate across the whole LGA serious investment and serious outcome-driven action around youth.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to second the motion. I think the amendment shows a much greater commitment from us as a council than the original motion. And whilst it doesn't commit us to any fixed amount of money, it really puts it on the agenda for consideration at budget time. I am now exposed on a daily basis to many of the youth issues in the casino and around casino with my role as part of the Youth Hub. And I can see so many opportunities that are needed, so many needs that need to be met. And the great work that was mentioned by Bianca from the council, from the youth network, that really needs support, needs human resources to really pull it all together. I know Bianca is doing work down in the Evans Head area and in the Coracai area as well, in conjunction with other agencies. And so we've just touched the edge of the iceberg, Mr Mayor, and I think this motion really lets our community know that we're serious about looking and addressing the issue, and obviously it needs to be done in the context of a budget, which I respect, but I think it's a bolder statement that we can let our community know is being considered. I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. Any other speakers? I've got to be open. I have one concern with the first word in the second, number 2, commits. Part 2 of the recommendation says considers. If you could change that commits to considers. I just don't believe we should be committing now before our budget review, our budget preparation. If we're committing, it could be between $5 to $200,000. I don't know. So I just think we should be considering all those things, but not committing straight up. That's my concern.
Am I allowed to speak on this, or what's the proper process?
I'll ask you a question and you can reply. Would you consider changing that word from commits to consider?
Oh, look, I hope my fellow councillors can see the value in youth and the need, the crying out need that we need funding in this area. I don't want to change the word because I've been coming here for over 1.5 years now, and I feel like we need action, and I think we need a real clear message to our community that we are committing to this. Considering another report, I can't sit here for another 5 months. It's been longer than that since May, since the notice of motion went up. But I think in the essence of time and the urgency on the issue, we should really be committing to some kind of increase in our budget, whether that is considered by our council management to be $5 or $200,000 is up to them. I'm not telling them how much they have to commit to, but I think as a council, we need to send a very clear, strong message to our community that we are serious on youth, particularly when our local state member is putting forward a petition to the New South Wales state government that's calling on additional sentencing for youth that are committing repeat crime. And so why I'm so passionate about this is because I see it as our core responsibility to fund properly, based on the recommendation of our council management, proper budgets, to drive preventative measures from a grassroots level, and I'm really passionate about seeing this through. So I hesitate to change it, and I hope my fellow councillors sitting here at the table can recognise how important funding youth is for our broader community. And so, with greatest amount of respect, if I had committed to a number, I would change it for sure, but I haven't committed to a number, I'm just committed to an increase. And our council management can decide on what is appropriate based on their internal reports.
I'm going to move an amendment, which is the recommendation, because I believe we should not be locking in any increases in anything before budget preparation on any issue. I believe that we should go through the right process, and I need a second before I can speak to that. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. I just believe if we start saying we're going to commit to a budget increase, where does it stop? On every issue we consider, we're going to commit to this, commit to that. We need to go through the right process, so council can consider whether they do, whether they don't. I believe there should be an increase, but I believe the process should be how we go about our budget. In preparing a budget, everything is considered on the table. Not commit something now and say, oh, well, we're committed to that, we can't do that. So, Councillor Humphries, the second.
Yeah, thanks very much. Look, it can be seen that there is a need. However, I think it's questionable to say that it's a core responsibility of council. I'd also, I'd be taking the 10,000. Putting that on the table as it's been offered tonight as well. And I would, just for clarity, I don't think it's been May, like it might have been May, but we were actually waiting to have more input through you, Mr Mayor, with Lyndall. So I think it's a little unfair to say that, to infer that we might have dragged our heels on this. Yeah, thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hayes.
I don't mind leaving the word commit in there, because it talks about, down in number 4, it talks about grant opportunities. If we go dollar for dollar, what are we committing? You know, we don't know until we get there. We're not locking a dollar in, are we?
Can I ask you a question? What if we don't get a grant?
Don't get a grant, we've got $10,000.
Well, we haven't, because it hadn't been allocated.
No,
so
but
it's only a comment in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we combine them.
Any other speakers?
Just a question, Mr Mayor.
Yeah. Look, I don't care if anyone has.
No, a question
Talk,
of you.
Yeah.
If that motion by Councillor Murray was amended to put the word consider, would you support it?
Yes.
Perhaps Councillor Murray might reconsider her position.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. I will am I allowed to reconsider?
Yeah, you can
I
change that.
accept your change to that amendment, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Walker, do you accept that as a seconder?
I do, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll withdraw my amendment with permission from council. So we have one motion now. Any other speakers? Councillor Murray, right or reply?
I just want to make one comment, and I think if we aren't serious about supporting young people, perhaps we need to go back and relook at our CSP and delivery program. Just from a comment that was made before, I think that, you know, we do have a responsibility, and it's clearly stated in these documents, so I think we need to consider how we address those outcomes in the future, perhaps. But that's all from me. Thank you.
To close the debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. (16.1) Planning and Sustainable Committee. Councillor Morrissey, moving.
I'll move the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Seconder. Councillor Murray, your light's on. Are you seconding or not? Councillor Cornish. Councillor
Nothing
Morrissey.
Nothing to say, Mr Mayor. It's just a planning proposal. Just had to be pulled out.
Yep, it needs to be debated by council or have a resolution of council under the Planning Act. Anyone else? Right or reply?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. 16.2 Future Manager of Air Force Beach. Councillor Murray, call this.
Yes, I did.
Councillor Murray, moving?
I would like to move an amendment, please, Mr Mayor.
No, you won't be moving. You'll be,
Oh.
you'll be moving a motion.
That's the amended motion.
What do I have to say?
You email the amended motion.
Move a motion.
Yeah.
You emailed you.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Take your time.
Need a lesson in this code of eating practice.
I can't. I've got to see it first.
Oh, it's gone.
Try that one. Amendments. There's further down. Said it's in, no, open that email and then it's further down in the email.
Just so you're clear, like you can't, where you landed is absolutely correct. Where you landed on that last motion is correct. You can't commit funding without a clear funding pathway or a report from the general manager.
Thank you very much for that.
Councillor Murray, we need you to read that out because people online would not have an idea what we're debating, please.
So I am calling that council notes the outcomes of the comprehensive community consultation conducted on the 3 management options proposed for Air Force Beach in Evans Head. Number 2, commits funding to address the immediate safety concerns raised by residents in the survey by installing a closure gate and fencing as part of the upgrade works scheduled, and continues to regulate and monitor the activities on Air Force Beach in line with the current service, with the proposed, that should have been the proposed service levels over the summer holiday period. My mistake. Receives a report on activities at its March 2026 meeting to inform further consideration of the options and any adjustments to the budget allocations in 2026-27.
Have I got a seconder?
I will second it if the mover adds another dot point to it. I'm happy with those 4, but I want a 5th one in there.
You'll need to get concurrence with the seconder, with the mover.
Already done that. Okay, I'll read it out. Okay, that council investigates the option of relocating the 4-wheel drive access point to a cleared land on the north side of Evans Head and provide all correspondence and replies with all government agencies to councillors as soon as possible.
Councillor Murray, are you okay to include that in your... Has you sent... Councillor Hayes, have you sent that through to...
Yeah, Julie, it shoots on those notes I gave you, but it's the 3rd one.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yep.
So we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Murray, just before you talk, I need to bring something to attention. I said earlier that word commit. It should be, I prefer consider, and I'm going to ask the General Manager to explain why.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I was working through this one as the previous one was debated, and basically when there is a motion that requires requiring the expenditure of funds. And I'll read it. So this is in our current code of meeting practice, 9.9. A motion or an amendment to a motion which, if passed, would require the expenditure of funds on works and/or services other than those already provided for in the Council's current adopted operational plan, must identify the source of funding for the expenditure that is the subject of the motion. If the motion does not identify a funding source, the Council must defer consideration of the matter pending a report from the General Manager on the availability of funds for implementing the motion if adopted. So I think for that proposed motion, really the only word that is an issue is that you're committing to an increase. So you're committing to funding that there isn't a current pathway for it.
So there's no availability in the existing, I think it's circa 300,000 upgrade works. That's all at capacity with the budget. There's not.
So that's a capital allocation, and I think the intent of your motion is for that to happen quickly. We've got some challenges with that project at the moment around the land tenure approvals because it is Crown land. So I wouldn't be relying on that bucket of money to solve this issue.
I was relying on that bucket of money for this particular
No, I appreciate that. I'm just
motion. So I will take the advice of the General Manager and the Mayor and change that word commits to considers.
And that project will take a while, so we'll be in our budget process then, so if it's okay. So
yeah, and we can come back to you with a report that says if these are the things you want to do in the shorter term, and this is how much it'll cost, and this is how we can fund it.
Councillor Hayes, you all right with that? A second with that change of word? Okay. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I start with my position on this, I do have a couple of questions about the survey that went out. Can I get confirmation that the data report that we have received has a IP address associated with each individual survey data entry?
Look, I'd need to check that with, and Adam was here a few minutes ago, but unfortunately just left. Otherwise, I would have checked directly with him. I get where you're going with this. Is obviously you don't want a loaded survey, so I would need to ask Adam.
I can. It's a rhetorical question, so I can give you the answer.
You're taking that on notice? Or?
I can take it on notice. Yeah.
Sorry,
you know the answer.
I do.
Councillor, on a few occasions you come and no answers and you ask a question. I don't know why that happens. I don't know if it's you say ask a question and you say staff and you say I can answer it. So I just don't understand why you ask the question if you already know the answer.
Can I explain it?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Okay, you're asking me a question. Great, I'm happy to explain it. I suspect, and I don't know for sure, so I'm here asking the question for confirmation. But on a observation level from my own experience online submitting the survey, it was possible to submit more than one entry without stopping the data point from continuing to put forward the entry. So you could essentially sit there and submit 500 responses and it skews the data. So why I was asking is to see if the report we received had been deduplicated based on an IP address that was associated with each of the data points that had gone through the survey for clarity on the data integrity. That was where my question was coming from. So the question stands because it may have been deduplicated. But if it wasn't deduplicated, because I know that you could submit more than once, then I was just asking for and seeking clarity on that from the management.
I just don't, you just say, ask the question and you say, I know the answer, or I can answer. So,
but I don't know the answer. I have an observation and I need confirmation based on the report because I can't see the deduplication process it may or may not have been through before it landed in our inbox. So it's still a valid question. I know that from a user experience perspective, I know that you could submit more than one and it didn't stop the IP address or cancel the IP address from submitting a second one. So there was an action that allowed people to submit multiples. But normally there's an internal process within a business, businesses that I've worked for in the past, but you go through a deduplication process based on the IP address that's associated with that data point. And so what you end up with is a true record of the sentiment that's coming from the survey. So my question still stands, is the data that we received as a councillor deduplicated based on the IP submission duplication process? So I don't know the answer, I just know from
Well, I think if you
observation.
have a look back, you'll say, I can answer that. So,
A mistake. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have said those words explicitly. That was I'll own that, my mistake. But my question, apologies, does still stand. I want to know whether the data was deduplicated or not.
And the general manager's taken the question on notice.
Understood.
Okay. Any other question?
Well,
Before you still got to speak
no.
to your motion.
Yes, that was just the question I was after. Thank you. I will go on. Firstly, I'd like to really thank the council's commitment to this survey. It was really great to see the great response rate. It was a real indication or example of democracy when our community got a really great tool to give their feedback on an issue that does divide, but I think at large there is a real common ground of safety is a key outcome from the sentiment report that come out of the survey. What the consultation makes clear is that the community is divided on long-term access, and I'm not here today to draw any conclusions on that, but I think there was really one point that there was alignment on, and that is that there are real safety concerns. Residents have raised serious and repeated issues about hooning, speeding, late night disturbances, unsafe interactions between vehicles, pedestrians, animals have been killed, children is in there as being threatened by accidents. These concerns are not theatrical, they are lived experiences and they deserve our immediate attention. This amendment seeks to strike a balanced and responsible approach, both considering public safety and a restrained budget allocation, while giving council staff the tools to shut down access should poor behaviour continue. First, it formally notes the outcomes of the consultation, and second, it commits to funding to address the immediate safety concerns by installing a closure gate and fencing as part of the upgrade or part of the upgrades works, or possibly before the upgrades work, as we now know. And I think this is an appropriate step that gives council a mechanism to manage access when needed, particularly during high-risk periods, without preempting longer-term decisions. And then third, it gives us a chance to have service levels during the holiday period where we have increased rangers appearing to help curb that behaviour. And finally, a further report that comes back to council in March 26, so decisions about future management options and any budget adjustments are informed by evidence and not assumptions. This amendment doesn't prejudge any outcome, it just focuses on safety first and a measured outcome now and informs decision making later. Thank you.
Councillor Hayes, the seconder.
Yeah, look, I've seconded this. I come in here with the idea of moving an amended motion myself, so I've kind of combined it into what Councillor Murray's done, and I'm happy with it. Over the time I've been on council, like the beach has been an issue for a long time, and we've slowly closed it down, shortened the areas, changed the dog areas, changed signage. We've done all that, and that's in that report. The community survey, we've noted the outcomes of the community survey, and it is very clear in there, and it states that the four-wheel drive access to the beach needs to remain open. Everybody wants it to remain open on those statistics in that report. So I support it remaining open. I don't support leaving the access where it is. I think it'd be better off moved. I think the trouble we have at the beach can be broken up into three areas. Okay, so we've got poor behaviour by the beach users, particularly four-wheel drivers. The beach combines four-wheel drive action with dogs, horses and people in one spot. The access leads from and to a built-up residential area in Evans Head. If the access was to be relocated outside the town limits towards the north, these three issues can be regulated and the issues wouldn't be as bad. I've got Julie put up a Google Earth shot. I'll just show you where I'm suggesting, and I know you're going to be all over this with national parks and wildlife and whatever, but there is a cleared fire break at the end of town, same distance from the beach as what the access is now, and it's got no infrastructure and no formed roads or anything on it, and I'm not sure who owns it, but if you bring it up, we might be able to find out.
She's working on it.
Okay, and look, I've asked in that .5 for the communication between the agencies to be presented to councillors, because we never get to see it. We just get, no, that's impossible. And that's not going to happen. I'd really like to see the replies. Not that I think there's anything untoward, but I'd like to see what the replies are, and our next step, if we've got to, you know, refute, go back, whatever.
It's up there now.
Okay, that's it. That's the one we want. So if you look at right at the top of the page, that last bit of cleared area,
There?
okay, that's fire break on the edge of town. The camps, there's that tree line, then there's a footpath, and then there's there's the tree line, and then there's a bit more cleared area, the footpath, then the camp. That is just on the 50 kilometre-hour signs as you come into town.
Where do you want the pointer? Just get to go up?
Yep, go up, Julie. I'll show you the bit of area
Yep.
there. That's it. Keep
Yeah,
there. There.
Yep.
The distance from there to the beach,
Yep.
very similar. There is a bit of wetland down in there. That's where I'd like to see it go.
Right.
Okay, so if I keep speaking, if the four-wheel drives come on there, we're only allowed to go north. The dogs are down from the bottom here at Kudjeri Street.
Yep.
And can go as far as the four-wheel drive track. That way they're not combined. The old four-wheel drive access can be used for horses, disabled access, picnickers, beachgoers, where they can go onto the beach and all they're going to have is dogs. There'll be no four-wheel drives.
Use that, click on that light.
This will be dangerous.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so that's the area I'm suggesting. I'm not sure who owns it or who keeps it clear. Parks and Wildlife?
Don't know.
It gets cleared and mowed pretty regularly. Okay, so there's a footpath through there. Okay. The runway, the start of the runway for the airport's just off there somewhere. So I'd suggest that the four-wheel drives come in here and go that way. Okay, and they go all the way up to Soldy. And then the down here, down the bottom here, Kudjeri Street access, the walk access, the dog limit starts about there somewhere, so the dogs can go from there to there. Access for horses, people, picnickers can utilise this area once it's done up with proper wheelchair access onto the beach. Ideal solution, whether it can happen, I don't know, but it's worth looking at.
I've got a question to you. Can you put that back up, please? Thank you. Can you recall at one stage we'd looked at moving that entrance, but I think it was near where you go into Canonia, Camp Canonia. Can you recall one time we done that? We had a...
Not in my time, no.
Well, I think,
Maybe before. But
yeah,
not,
I think if you look, there would be stuff on record that one time we looked at it, but it didn't for some reason. But no, I'm happy with that. I think that'd solve a lot of problems if that could happen.
Yeah. And look, also the traffic calming devices that we're suggesting for further up in Flame Street, and we're talking about slowing the traffic down at this point, it could be in conjunction with that design of that, the entrance into that. Ben's all over it with money.
Yep.
That's it, thank you.
That's it. Any other speakers? Mr. General Manager wants to bring us up to date.
Yeah, just to, rather than take that question on notice, I just thought it was a chance to make that clarification. Adam was still in the building, so he's been able to advise me that of the 1,183 responses, 1,063 are from separate IPs. Says many of the duplicate IPs still have significantly different names and emails associated with them, so from different family members and the like. At a quick glance through the data, he's said there's about 7 occasions where he can see the same name and IP has been used. And he's also said that the product that we use with those forms does have a tool in it that identifies spam, duplicates and filters them out.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
It does, and thank you for getting that response.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too don't support closing the beach, but I came here with the intention of supporting option 2 as my preference, which was to regulate the entry, and I do think that's probably where my heart lies, is the outcome that I would prefer. But the amalgamated motion I find interesting. It's better than what was on the business paper, because that was just kicking the can down the road again, and no decision being taken. So at least it's proactive perhaps doesn't go as far as I'd like to. And item 5, I find intriguing because I hadn't thought about it, so I'm really interested in the outcome of that. So generally I support it moving forward, Mr Mayor, although, as I say, my preference would be for option 2 as it's outlined in the report.
Any other speakers? I'll just answer about kicking the can down the road. As Councillor Hayes said earlier, this has been an issue on council books for a long time. There is a lot of support to keep it open. Council has had that information that there was over the years, decades, that there was a lot of support out there for that. And even though that support was to keep it open right up to the Black Rocks, Council closed sections on a few occasions and changed around where you could go. Years ago you could drive up in the sandhills, but it's gradually retracted. We've been very active on this, and I believe these motion tonight and or the recommendation is addressing that. And we have been, and we're not going, it's one of those situations as a council, you cannot keep everyone happy. But it's quite clear that the majority, and I say it again, the majority of people want it kept open. But I've said when I was a councillor, and I've not at the mayor, and as the mayor, I believe the time for warnings is gone, and we need to start making the rules apply and fining those people who won't listen, because it's a small minority who is spoiling it for the majority. Because I believe, I've been on that beach many times, the majority of people treat the beach with respect. They know the boundaries. They're there as families. They're there as fishermen. But then you get a couple of minority people who come there and carry on like how they shouldn't be, and they spoil it for everyone. So I just think they really need to be nailed. The word will get out, and I support more patrols, even though we hear the story, the rangers down there, the general manager's looked at that issue, the rangers down there a real lot. And because someone says, I've never seen the ranger, I don't see the ranger driving around casino neither. It doesn't mean they're not here, all right? So I support the motion and look forward to where we go in the next budget with it. Any other speakers? Councillor Murray, write a reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to make a couple of comments. I think the community feedback probably doesn't agree that we've done enough, and I think that comes through quite clearly in the survey reports, where it is absolutely overwhelming majority is to remain open, that beach access. But there is an underlying alignment that there is a real safety risk and safety concern. And so hopefully this gets through today and can start to address some of that with a option to gate it off when poor behaviour is displayed. I think because it has escalated, you know, there's hooning, there's fires, there's it's unsafe down there at night. It's pretty scary, to be quite frank. So that's all. I'll close the debate on that. I will finish speaking on that.
Thank you. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried, unanimous. Councillors, we now go over to page 38, infrastructure service projects. There is nil reports. And then we move on to 18.2, which is on page 42, updated code of meeting practice, and I believe Councillor Murray called this too. Councillor Murray? Councillor Murray?
Sorry, I'm just thinking through the rule book in my head, and I'm not sure if I can do what I'm about to try and do. Can I speak against a motion and
Well, we haven't got a motion.
Oh, sorry.
You called it. You can.
Make a
someone else
comment.
can move it, or this is on the page 42, 8.2.
Correct.
Or you can move a different motion.
I don't want to move a different motion, I just want to make a comment on it.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the motion as printed.
Thank you. Councillor Walker, and a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Humphries. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think this matter has been debated a few times over recent months and certainly got an airing earlier in the meeting about some of the areas of disagreement. What we're doing, though, is not only updating the Code of Meeting Practice for Richmond Valley Council, but we are part of the network of local government throughout the state, and a number of the mandatory clauses need to be included to provide for good local government across all of the municipalities of the state. And unlike Councillor Humphries, my experience in other local governments is they are dysfunctional. They are in need of these sorts of reforms, and we are very lucky here that we haven't had the need. But the code offers a number of changes which I fully support. Open meetings, which is something I really believe in, and all matters should come to open council. The issue of information sessions, I think, is slightly misinterpreted. The new code only provides that if a matter is to be considered by the council, it doesn't go to an information session, but the council can certainly meet with visitors, or can meet and discuss items that it wants further explanation for. It could talk to a Rouse, it could talk to a Reconstruction Authority. It's only if the item is on the council agenda that you can't preconsider it at an information session. So I think that's a good thing. The debate on whether you should be able to enter the meeting by audio-visual links is an interesting one. I personally support the code as it's currently presented, because I don't think it's right for an elected councillor to continue to come into a meeting via an audio-visual link. And in some cases they do wish to come in for a whole year or longer. People ought to live in the local government area that they serve. They ought to be present in the local government area, and they ought to be here to debate and be part of the decision making. So I actually support that. Perhaps it could be loosened a little bit if there are one or two reasons, perhaps more than the restrictions are there if you can't make one or two meetings. But I think we have to remove any blanket ability of people to come in that way. So I think it's got a lot of good code clauses. A number of them are continued from our current code, including the one the General Manager just read out before about committing expenditure. That remains in the new code as well. And I think it's a code that, if adopted, will make local government generally definitely operate better, and probably doesn't have a great deal of change for us, except that we change our information session methodology. So I fully support it. And happy to move the recommendation as printed.
Councillor Humphrey, yes, seconder.
Yeah, thank you. I previously said it is what it will be now, like it's a given. However, 1,000 delegates at the recent conference, 800 perhaps in the auditorium, spoke about the two issues that I mentioned previously, the Zooming and the briefing sessions. The briefing sessions, I'm over that. I think the community will lose out on that. Hopefully we can think of a way that we can still get that information. The Zooming I still feel is a bit of a joke, because if I needed to Zoom and I'm caring for someone, how am I going to concentrate on and make good decisions for my community if I'm caring for someone? And if I'm sick? If I'm sick, I can Zoom in. If I'm sick, how can I concentrate and make good decisions on behalf of my community? And the example that I gave earlier, that woman had compelling reasons to be able to Zoom, not all the time. I actually don't agree with that. So a compromise, the minister could have talked to the New South Wales local government representatives, the president, and perhaps hopefully may still compromise on that. Yeah, thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I am speaking against this tonight, but not because of anything that we have in the code from a council level. But I agree with Councillor Humphrey that they should have really changed the decisions around Zoom conferencing in before the election. So we could have made that decision before we ran. And it is out of the control of us here, but it's a on principle reason that I'm voting against it tonight, because I think that the removal of that video link from a state government level really does negatively impact people living in rural communities and people who are employed or running a business. So it then puts a potential age discrepancy on the availability of time in the current age that we're living in. Everyone has to work, 2 people in every household's working these days, and they're working longer into their lives. I also think that this technology has been adopted to drive multi-billion-dollar businesses around the world. So it seems like as a government level, we're going backwards, and that's really disappointing to see from that leadership level. So you can further expect a notice of motion from me in the new year to take council meetings on the road to reduce the travel obligations of us coming from Evans Head, perhaps.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hayes.
I've listened to Councillor Walker and Councillor Humphreys and now Councillor Murray. I'm probably not going to support this recommendation tonight. I feel as though it's been, some parts of that code of the meeting practice have been forced upon us. We didn't get a say. Councillor Humphrey says, well, it is what it is, we've got to move on. Well, should we have to do that? I don't think so. The Zooming, the audio-visual link, I think should remain. It's going to make it hard if, for people that have come to this term of council, including myself, that aren't going to be at home or near the meeting place but could Zoom in, and they've planned their lifestyles there for the next 4 years or 2.5 years, whatever it is to go, and they let us know 12 months in that they're going to change it on us. It should have been changed prior to the election, so you knew it was in front of you before you actually run for council. They forced it upon us. We've got some items, and look, there's only a few that I'm not happy with, but I'm not, for that sake, I'm not going to support the motion tonight, the recommendation tonight.
Any other speakers? I'll just, you can vote against it. If we all voted against it, it will still come in on the 31st of December. So yes, we have to go with it. As Councillor Humphrey said, we have to accept it. And just bear in mind, if we voted against it, the 31st of December, we would not have our own guidelines in there that we want to have a meeting by. It would be all mandatory stuff. So that's one thing. Councillor Walker said he's been in councils that don't perform well, and they need those regulations. I haven't. And the thing that irks me, there are guidelines under the Act. If councillors misbehave, they are banned. So, and there can be action taken against them. Why are councils like ours, who have no problems, being punished because of misbehaviour of other councils? It's like we get back to the Air Force speech. It's a few spoiling it for the majority of people. And I just think that those rules are wrong. But anyway, as I said, we have to get on with adopting this and move on. And I don't know if there will be changes next year, but other than that, we just have to work our way around it and get on with a new way of... and look, there'll be a few changes, but a lot of it's just carries on as we are. But I feel for people who have to work. That's my main thing about the Zooming. If you want a holiday, will you either have you miss a meeting, put an apology, or you reorganise your holiday? But when you're working, you have to work. And I think it's not going to be beneficial right across the local government sector. And when the General Manager and I met with the Minister in Grafton, I made a suggestion that how about you allow every councillor, if they want 2 Zoom meetings a year? Well, he done that, but then you had to be sick or be a carer. I was talking about not having any conditions. So if you had to go to work or emergency, you can, but so. And I think there's times will be where people will have to Zoom, and it won't be because they're carers or they're sick. There will have to be times they will, so they're going to miss meetings. So. Any other speakers? Councillor Walker, right a reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You took my major point out of my mouth when you indicated that we have to adopt this. It's true. You can vote against as much as you like, but we need a code of conduct. It is mandatory. I also draw council's attention to the fact that it has been before us 3 or 4 times already. We've considered mandatory clauses and non-mandatory clauses. We've adopted a draft. We've been out to the general public, so it's had lots of consideration, and it's time that it be adopted. The only point I'd make, Mr Mayor, you indicated that if councillors misbehave, they can be banned. You only have to look next door neighbours at Lismore to realise that doesn't work. It just does not work. So there might be causes, but it's not effective. So I reiterate my support for the recommendation as printed.
To close the debate, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Record that, please. We're now on to page 44, 18.3, media and social media policy update. And Councillor Murray, you call this one. You're not going to vote against this one, are you?
I am going to move a motion.
Yes? Got it?
Have you got that, Julie? I think it was in the original. There was 3 in one, but I can resend it if it's easier. Okay. I promise this is my last one.
You don't need practice?
I need practice. Should be 2 items, I think, if I send it through correctly. Yep. Christmas card. Oh, no, you can definitely remove that incorrect reference. Thank you. I think it's 2, consideration of, so a written response is 1 item and then that response is 2.
Can I ask a question at this point in time, or I've got to wait?
I'd rather get a motion. Because there's nothing there, Robert. Councillor Hayes, sorry. Councillor, I'm having a bit of difficulty with this. It's a bit wishy-washy. Who's the email from? That no doubt the General Manager had many
Oh, for sure.
emails on that day.
100%.
I can't accept a motion unless I'm...
Okay, the email was from me and it included all councillors, and I've walked in tonight and received a written response that all the councillors haven't received. So I just feel like to be able to vote on a new policy, we need to have this information shared with everybody, because it's in relation to the policy, and I haven't had time to sit here and review the responses. So before I can commit to voting for a new policy, I want the opportunity to reread that with these responses that I've just received tonight as I walked in on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm just asking
Yeah.
for it to be deferred so I can have the opportunity
look,
to review
I'll
it.
ask the General Manager to just make a comment because I can't... Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm a little confused, but that's okay. You probably
You were on
sensing
holidays,
that.
to be completely fair. You was the acting general manager. Maybe I should have had that in there.
And yeah, look, no, that's all right. I'm the general manager, so I'm accountable for whatever's occurred. I don't have an issue with deferring the matter, so I'd actually think that that's probably a sensible course of action. If there's information that can help you all fully consider this matter, then we'll make sure that's available to you. So, yeah, because I've
That's what it is. Just
been trying to
deferring
find the
it,
email. I can't find one, but that's not to say there wasn't one, because I get a fair few. So I'm happy to defer the matter and get all the information to you all. I mean, I think, look, this is going to take a bit of change, which is why you'll note on page 46 under record, particularly the record keeping requirements and things that you will need to do, and we need to work through. Once again, this is going to add resource impost on us to support you, to record information, store it, file it, on, and that's why in that last paragraph under record keeping requirements, we have included that we will be supporting you with training policies to ensure that you and ourselves and the organisation are complying with these new requirements. So if we need to defer the item, and I don't think there's any pressing deadline on it, happy to do that.
I think the correct motion for me would be that council defers the item. And just leave
I'd
it.
accept that.
Yeah.
All I want is the
Pe-
opportunity
pending
to...
further information.
Yes, thank you. That's
I
so
think
fine.
that would be a...
I just want
more
to be able
simple.
to consume this, and I probably will have more questions in between and have this information shared with everybody, so we can. I know what I'm voting on.
So are you happy to move something simple like that?
Happy to move. Oh. So frustrating.
And if the information you want, you can contact the General Manager and, yeah, it'll come out.
Question, Mr Mayor.
Yes.
Could the information that Councillor Murray is referring to that she received when she arrived tonight be circulated? And could I ask who it was from if it wasn't from the General Manager?
So yeah, the email was from me.
No, the one you
the
received
reply.
Oh, tonight it's not. It's just the answers to an extraction of the email's questions. It's not. It's just on a blank piece of paper.
Sorry, how was that received by you?
Sorry, Mr. Gator gave it to me on the way in tonight.
Okay, I think that was the intent of Councillor Walker's question.
Okay, and that can be distributed to Mr General Manager, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
That answer your question?
I assume that Director Gator gave them back to you because you asked the questions. May not have realised that the other councillors were copied into the email.
I'd say that's...
But if you're happy we're
I'm
happy,
happy
we'll share
with
the
the
information.
simplified version of what I put forward, that's fine.
So we have a, you want to read that?
Sorry, what?
Yep.
You'd like me- that council defers the item to a future meeting pending further information. Is that satisfactory?
Happy with that? Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Walker. Councillor Murray.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but as I've already said, I had some questions outstanding, which tonight I have received further information, which I appreciate, but I would just like the time to be able to review that information. I think other councillors deserve to have access to that information, since it was initially asked on a group email. And I'd just like some more time to consider the responses in line with the changes to the social media policy, since they are quite large in what is being asked of us, particularly from an administrative level.
Thank you. Councillor Walker. Seconder?
No, nothing more, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I will just make a comment what General Manager referred to on page 46. To support council in navigating their responsibilities in accordance with the policies, training will be provided to councillors who have not completed prior training, or for any council requiring further refresher training. I have done prior training, but I am already asked the General Manager to book me in for some training, because I think it's a few fair changes in there. So. Any other speakers? Councillor Murray, write a reply.
Nothing else, thank you.
Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, that brings us to item 19 on page 50, general business. There's nil reports. Then we go over to page 51. Item 20, matters for information. Can I get a mover, please?
I'll move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries, Councillor Morrissey.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Humphries, anything?
No, thank you.
Any other councillors? Just good to see that, and I'll compliment on the code of conduct complaints that there are nil. I'd just like to thank councillors for their behaviour and respect shown in this chamber once again. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Page 70, questions on notice, nil. Questions for the next meeting in writing. Has any councillor got a question in writing for the next meeting? Nil. Move on to page 71, matters deferred to closed council. I need a motion to go into closed council.
Move the recommendation.
Second, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Humphries. Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Any discussion? Mr General Manager, has there been any written submissions?
No,
for
none
council
received.
to go into closed council? Is there any representation from the gallery? No?
And to you.
And to you. And thanks for your attendance during the year. No representation. I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you for your attending, and have a safe trip home, everyone. Mr General Manager, could you ask a staff member or yourself to read the resolutions of closed council, please?
Sure, we'll hand over to Director Gator to do the first and lead off. Thank you.
Okay, in matter 23.1, tender VP 471526, supply only of bulk stabilisation material. It was resolved that council declines all tenders for VP 471526, supply only of bulk stabilisation material, due to all tenders being non-compliant.
In the item 23.2, tender VP 475095, casino water treatment plant augmentation concept design. Council resolved that 1, council accepts the tender from MJM Environmental Proprietary Limited for the casino water treatment plant augmentation concept design, as it represents the best value for council at $148,590 exclusive of GST. And 2, the General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of any contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing the seal of council where necessary. In the item 23.3, tender VP 486833, Evans Head STP Stage 2 project and construction management support. Council resolved that 1, council accepts the tender from Birchall's Engineering Solutions to assist council in the delivery of the Evans Head STP Stage 2 construction phase, and 2, the General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of any contract or agreement in line with the content of this report and the available budget, and affixing the seal of council where necessary.
For item 23.4, Richmond Valley Residential Development Update, Council resolved to note the update on the residential development status and options, that the General Manager will progress the assessment and due diligence on the options in line with the details in the report, and subject to Council's desire to invest in activation of residential land options for the community's economic and housing benefit, and that further reports on these matters will be brought back to Council for consideration as required.
Thank you. I apologise for the lateness of the meeting, but I'd just like to wish everyone, staff and councillors, Merry Christmas, a great festive season for the new year, and a prosperous 2026. And anyone travelling, please take your time and return safely. So enjoy yourselves, and look forward to catching up again in February. Thank you.